Hello, welcome back. Screenland Season 2 is underway. My name is Brian Lloyd. Welcome. If this is your first time listening, or if you are a regular listener, you're probably a regular listener. Hi, hello, welcome along. How was your Christmas? How was New Year's? What did you get up to? Did Santa come to you? What did Santa bring you? Tell me all about it. So, I had a good Christmas. Yeah, I had a great Christmas. I did fucking nothing. I ate a lot. I slept a lot. I watched some movies. Not really. I kind of watched a few, you know? But yeah, I just I chilled out. I think I overdid it last year. With a lot of things. And I needed to take a break. And I took a break. And I did it. And I feel much better about it. So, so let's get into it. Yeah. So, I mean, look, the big movie this week, I think you know already, it's Hamnet. Right. So, I have the book downstairs. I have been meaning to read it. I have not got around to reading it. Kate read it. My wife read it. And found it to be incredibly moving. Now, I would say, you know, if you were to say, oh, William Shakespeare, right away, that's automatically going to make people irksome about it. And I can see, I would say, watching I've seen the trailer enough times now that I'm like, I don't know if that's a very good trailer, to be honest, because it's giving a real kind of not Shakespeare in love. It's not that fucking twee, but it's definitely, there is a tweeness in the trailer, I think, that does not exist in the movie. So if that is your concern, get that out of your head. Really, what I think this film is about, and this is why it's so good, because I've never seen it done this well, is the idea of grief, and how do we process it? Because, you know, like the first half of this movie, if I'm honest, is very much kind of a love story. And it talks about, you know, like the way that Jessie Buckley's character and Paul Mescal's character, Anne Hathaway and William Shakespeare, how they meet is very, you know, it's done in a very sort of rich way, and it's very lovely, and it's, you know, very bucolic and has a kind of wildness to it. And of course, we don't necessarily associate any of those things with Will Shakespeare, do we? We think of the form, we think of the language, we think of the tenor and the tone. You know, you think of Ian McKellen, you think of Judi Dench, you know, you think of Derek Jacobi, you think of the RSC, you think of all of the kind of the structure and the gravitas that comes with it. And what the film does very well, I think, is it just makes it so human. And I think that is, you know, I mean, I do like Shakespeare. I really do like Shakespeare. I mean, who doesn't? But I remember reading Macbeth, because I did honours English, obviously, and we had to do Macbeth. That was the one that we had to do for the Leaving Cert. I remember thinking some of the lines in it were so fucking tough. You know, like so gritty. Like the one that I always remember is, why should I play the Roman fool and die upon my sword while I see lives the gashes do better upon them? Like, that's so fucking tough. There's another one I remember from Richard III, which is bloody thou art, and bloody will be thy end. I mean, that is, you know, real. That's almost like, you know, anime villain levels of whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it's just there's a real richness to it, you know what I mean? but it's not human. Do you know that kind of way? That doesn't human. That's monologuing. You know, that sort of way. And then, you know, I can even I'll give you another recommendation for Shakespeare. Look it up on YouTube. It's fantastic. It is Alan Rickman reading Sonnet 130. Talk about sensuality in, you know, a minute and a half. Alan Rickman reading Sonnet 130. My God. You know, I'm straight and, you know. Anyways, so all that aside, you know, the script of the film doesn't have any of that. It doesn't have any of that kind of rigidity. It feels very natural. It's all very, you know, palpable. Even there's a scene later in the film when Paul Mescal is putting on the production of Hamlet, and he's trying to get one of the actors to recite a line, and he's not doing it the way, and he keeps directing him, and he goes, no, again, you know, I myself am indifferent, again, and it's real, like, again, it's that thing of, you know, and again, this is what I think the whole film is about, is that, like, art, be it making it or being it interacting with it. Interacting with art, be it making it or receiving it, is a way to help you process grief. And what could be more profound than, you know, what they go through in this film? And I don't want to ruin it, but I mean, okay, spoilers. Their son dies. The son is called Hamnet. And, you know, it's very, because I am someone, if I watch a film, right, and I really, really connect with it, I've really kind of, I use it. Like, did I review Sentimental Value? I was talking to Dave Hanratty of No Encore, and we were talking about, I saw him, we went to see Strange Days in the Lighthouse. It was great. And we were talking about sentimental value. And either he said it or I said it. I think he said it, because he's very smart. And he said, sentimental value is like a really fucking good therapy session. It will bring you to a lot of conclusions. Or not a conclusion, but it will help you see things, because that's there. Because it's the process and you go through it. And I don't do therapy. I don't do therapy. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into why I don't do it. I mean, you know, I'm not without my problems, but I'm managing the problems that I have. Basically, my thing is you can't hit a moving target. So that's why I'm always working. That's why I'm always moving around. That's why I'm always yapping away. I'm always doing something, because you can't hit a moving target. Leave that aside. What I'm saying is that, like, you know, you can use art in any way you want, and you can use it in your own life, and you can, you know, take things from it. It can give you a perspective. The thing that you know, when everyone says, why are you into movies? There's a great clip. Roger Ebert was on Charlie Rose, and he says, you know, movies are a machine for empathy. It takes you out of your own life, and for 90 minutes, 2 hours, you are in the life of someone else, and you care about that person, not yourself, in the sense of you connect with them when it's really going well, when it's really cooking, as he says. You are connected to that other person. And then you begin, when you come out of it, you are able to think about your life from that perspective, because you have the benefit of having received it. And likewise, you know, and I can't, you know, speak to this necessarily, but I think, you know, because I've not really made anything in the sense of, you know, a piece of work or art or whatever you want to call it. Like, I mean, I've written a few short stories and stuff like that, but I've never done anything on a scale. Hoping to change that in 2026. Fingers crossed. I don't know, whatever. But, like, you know, when you make something, it helps you to process it, because you have to think about that thing, whether it is a loss, whether it is an unrequited love, whether it is anger, whether it is betrayal. You are thinking about that. You are processing that by then turning that and transmuting that into something. And that is the core of Hamnet, is the idea of taking something awful. And it's not necessarily, like, it's not exploitation. Not necessarily. I think it's a kind of an idea of, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know where to put this. I'm going to do this and try put that into that, you know? And it is so well done in this film. Like, the final third of this film, I know I've said halves, but, you know, the final act is this very kind of truncated production of Hamlet. And when the actor who plays Hamlet comes out, he looks exactly like the son. And you can really feel, like, it's done very, very well. But, like, you can almost hear the air go out of everyone. It's not like a gasp, but you just feel the air come. It just, like, it's real. And, again, Jessie Buckley. Like, she's going to win Best Actress. Put the wife, put the kids, bet the wife, bet the house, bet the kids. Put it all on her. She's going to win Best Actress. Would be the upset of the century if she didn't win it. I mean, I know she already won Critics' Choice, but like, she's got this. This is her year, as far as I'm concerned. Paul Mescal will be back. Of course he'll be back. He's a very, very talented actor. Of course he will be back. But this is, without a shadow of a doubt, this is her year. She is going to win this. And she deserves to win it because she's a very, very talented actor. Yeah, I mean, you know, I really like Nomadland. I can see why people didn't like it, though. I see why people did not connect with it. Because, you know, it's a very slow film. It is a film that does not have a lot of moving parts. Even though it is a film about moving from place to place and stuff, you know, but it is the idea of, you know, you see kind of moments in her life, and it's a vignette as opposed to a sort of a tapestry, you know. And having said that, I was watching Hamnet, and I wouldn't have put the two together, you know, that kind of way. It just, there was a completely different sensibility in the two films. You would not think they were made by the same director. And again, that's not, you know, that's not a dig. I'm not making a dig at Hamnet. I'm just saying I watched that and I watched that, and I watched Nomadland and I watched Hamnet, and I wouldn't have said that they were been made by the same director, because Hamnet feels more like there's a real richness to it. It looks gorgeous, and you know, the camera is always kind of, I'm gesturing like an idiot, but you know, the camera is at a remove. Do you know that kind of way? And it's fixed, so it really has that kind of almost theatrical kind of element. Like, there's a scene in it with Jessie Buckley and Paul Mescal, and it's after Hamnet has died, and he's like, I have to go back to London, and she's just like, yeah, go. And like, it's just, it lingers. The camera lingers for so long that you're almost kind of like, oh God, I don't know if I should be watching this. Like, it gets that real, it gets that intimate, and that is so difficult to do without A, hamming it up, and B, seeing the motors moving, if you know the kind of way, like seeing the process, seeing the work. It feels real. It really does feel like those two actors are not actors, but it's two people who are just consumed by grief and are just bashing up against each other. It's horrible. You know what I mean? It's awful. Like, you, again, that's that thing of, like, you know, when you watch this, like, you feel, I never want to see it again. I'll say that right now. I've seen it. It's brilliant. You know, it is a fantastic film. I will watch it once and I will never watch it again. And it's not a thing of like, oh, well, you know, there are sometimes those Oscar movies that you just don't go back to. This isn't the case. This is one of those films that it's very tough to process. And I was walking out of a screen and I was like wiping tears away because it got me. Like, because it was like the final, and again, spoilers, the final piece from Max Richter's score is On the Nature of Daylight. And that fucking song, just, every time I hear it, it just, oh. And, yeah, you know, it's just, it's a lot, man. It's a lot. So, yeah. Okay. The other movie that has been out since New Year's Day, and I'm now recording this on January 7th, and it feels kind of ridiculous to even be talking about it, but fuck it, I'm going to talk about it anyway. Song Sung Blue. So, I love Neil Diamond. Yet, I don't want to see a Neil Diamond biopic. So this is the next best thing. This is based on the documentary of the same name. I think it was out in 2005. It is about a Neil Diamond tribute band, except it's not a tribute band. It's a experience. It's a Neil Diamond experience. Hugh Jackman plays this mechanic who was previously a tunnel rat, a US soldier in Vietnam, and recovering alcoholic. He's trying to kind of get his career off the ground. Like he does, he plays in these kind of like, what do you call them? Estate fairs and stuff like that. And he's been doing it around, I think it was either Milwaukee or Wisconsin. Just, one of those states. And he meets Kate Hudson, who is playing this Patsy Cline singer, Patsy Cline impersonator, whatever you want to call it, tribute act. And the two of them decide to tie their kind of fortunes together, and they become Thunder and Lightning. And it's all about, them getting the band together and, talking about what it is they love about Neil Diamond and it becomes like a kind of, the whole thing kind of steamrolls, and, she's got kids and all the rest of it, and he's got a daughter as well, and they're trying to make it work, and then there's a blended family kind of dynamic, and it's very, the first, I would say, 40 minutes of this movie, it kind of, goes along. Michael Imperioli's in it, that kind of way. Like it's humming along, and it's going well. And then what happens is they get a support gig for Pearl Jam out of nowhere, and fucking Eddie Vedder comes on stage at one point and sings like the final song before they come on and stuff. And I think it was either Forever in Blue Jeans or maybe it was Sweet Caroline. I can't fucking remember now. But point is anyway that it's the big triumphal moment, and then there is this unbelievable tragedy that happens, right? And then it's all about how do they get over that, how do they weather that storm and all the rest of it. And, there are films, like I think of The Iron Claw, right? The Iron Claw is a film about just the most unspeakable, unimaginable tragedy to befall a family, to befall a set of brothers, right? In fact, if you go and watch Iron Claw, they actually had to take out some of the story because Sean Durkin was like, yeah, people aren't going to believe that this actually happened. That's how fucked it was for the Von Erichs, right? And that is a film that, manages to do the high notes and do the low notes just as well. It really has that balance. Why Zac Efron? Why that film wasn't in Oscar contention, I think, is the biggest sign that award season generally is complete bullshit. Just while we're talking about, awards for Jessie Buckley and stuff. Like Zac Efron, how the fuck did he not get nominated for this? It's an incredible film. Holt McElhaney. Just fucking hell, the Iron Claw. I mean, people say, yeah, it's Little Women for straight men. Yes, I would agree with that. That's not an insult. That's not an insult. I agree. It is Little Women for straight men. And, again, not ashamed to admit it, was bawling my eyes out watching that film. It fucking wiped me out. Like, Jesus. My God, just that film. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that there is a film that is able to artfully navigate the highs and lows in a true life story. Song Sung Blue doesn't have that. It doesn't have that at all. It is, just so jagged, so up and down. Like, like I say, the first like 30, 40 minutes of this film, you're kind of like, this is enjoyable. It's like a Neil Diamond song, which is, it is very goofy at times, but it's very sincere. You can't help but kind of get caught up in it, and you can't help but just kind of love it, and just, it's kind of a bit naff, and it's a little bit kind of, but you're enjoying it. You're going along with it. It's good crack. That kind of way. You could easily imagine, your parents or, somebody enjoying it. You know what I mean? It's very easy to like, even though your taste is telling you differently. You're still enjoying it. And not in a corrosive way, not in a kind of, I know I sound like a fucking snob saying that, but it's true. Like, it's Neil Diamond. Like, come on. Like, it's, I'll smack you in the mouth. I'm Neil Diamond. Anyways, when the film then goes into the dark moments, into the tragedy that is inherent in the story, it's almost soap opera. Do you know what I mean? It's so specific, and it is so badly handled, and kind of, it's not that it's making light of it, and it's not treating it trivially. It's not trivial in the approach, but it just, I don't know, like there's a hamminess or something to it. There's a real, and again, it's not insincere either. I can't accuse it of being insincere. It's just very, like, it's so much. It's so much. It's just really beating you over the head with it that, you can't really, the emotions are so big, there's very little room for you to feel anything. And this was, again, kind of the problem I had with All of Us Strangers from a couple of years back. Again, another Paul Mescal thing. Could not. No, okay, fine. Yes, that is a queer love ghost story. I am neither of those things, so that was going to be difficult for me to reach. But I know a lot of people who saw All of Us Strangers and really connected with it, and really did feel that kind of, felt the sort of the emptiness and the romance and all of it. They really connected with it, and that's great. Cool. Did nothing for me. This, it did and it didn't. I think, it's a testament to how good Hugh Jackman is as an actor. He doesn't get his flowers enough. He is a song and dance man, by the way. He is at his happiest when he is singing a song and doing a little jig. Him playing fucking Wolverine again. If they end up bringing him back for Avengers Doomsday, my God. Like, actually, yeah. You know what? Okay, here's what I'll wrap it up with Song Sung Blue. It's okay. I enjoyed it. It's fine. There's nothing, it's not terrible. It's just not very good either. It's the kind of film that if it came on a Friday evening and you're at home with your parents, you'd probably sit through it and you'd probably enjoy it. It's not an airplane film. It's not one of those ones where it's like, it's enjoyable and then you forget about it. It's not that. I think it's more kind of like, a bit naff, a bit goofy, but very sincere. You can't not help but kind of get wrapped up in it because it's Neil fucking Diamond, that kind of way. It's Forever in Blue Jeans. It's Sweet Caroline. It's Brother Love's Travelling Show. It's Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon. It's, Thank God for the Nighttime. It's, it's fucking Neil Diamond. Like, you can't, You Never Bring Me Flowers. I have that downstairs on vinyl. So, I like Neil Diamond. Gary was a little shy. That's nowhere online, by the way. That's hilarious. That fucking SNL sketch with Will Ferrell doing Neil Diamond's VH1 Storytellers. It's nowhere online. And, anyways. Right. I have to talk about this. I am compelled to talk about this. Just because... Oh, God. Right. So, Avengers Doomsday. Will be out St. Stephen's Day 2026, this year. And trailers have been dropping online. And it's all like, Steve Rogers will return in Avengers Doomsday. And, the X-Men will return in Avengers Doomsday. And you know, I was actually talking about somebody about this the other day, actually. You know, there's a great documentary. Here's a recommendation. There's a great documentary on Netflix. It's called Breakdown 1975. It's directed by Morgan Neville. Great documentary maker. He did that one about Bowie that I was shiting on about a few weeks back. Jodie Foster narrates it. And basically what the whole thing is about is, you know, the films that were made in 1975 was just this embarrassment of riches for films. You had Marathon Man. You had Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. You had The Parallax View. You had All the President's Men was in production that year. You had, you know, Jaws. You know, you had Taxi Driver was out that year as well. It's just, and it talked about, you know, the context in which they were made and released, which was, you know, Gerald Ford, you know, Nixon, Watergate, the aftermath of Watergate, you know, the birth of, you know, self-help cults. Est is a big thing in it. Then we talk about, you know, Richard Pryor, blaxploitation. You know, this was the year of Shaft as well. So, like, it's just, I fucking loved it. I loved it so much. And I was watching it, and what was kind of clear to me was that, you know, films exist in a context. Obviously they do. But the big films, the ones that audiences really connect with, or I think are the ones that, you know, they tell you a lot about the time period that they are in. And, you know, when Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War and, you know, all the Avengers movies, it was the time of Obama. You know, it was America on the rise. It was, or America on the march, you know, that kind of way. It was really kind of, you know, things were looking up. You know, it was, you know, tail end of, you know, the Great Recession and stuff like that. And, you know, the financial crash had, you know, happened, and you could feel that America and the world kind of wanted to move on, and we wanted to believe that, you know, good things would happen, and that, you know, there was a kind of a sense of people wanted to forget, and they wanted to escape into this fantasy world because it was easier than facing the truth. And, you know, looking at what is going on in America right fucking now, and trying to, you know, process that through comic book movies, I don't know how the fuck that's going to happen. I don't know how that's going to work. Because, and I'm not saying it's the vehicle to process it, but I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. How that is received. Because, I mean, it's diminishing returns. You know what I mean? It's, what the fuck are we at here? We're just, you know, we're bringing everybody, like, you know, Avengers Endgame was an ending. And it was a very well-made ending. I will say it. I watched Avengers Infinity War when they came out. I watched Avengers Endgame, and they were really well done. You know, were they corporate and soulless? Yes, but as works of craft, as a movie as opposed to a film, they were big movies. I enjoyed them. I don't go back to them. I don't revisit them. But I remember watching them and being swept up in it and really enjoying them. And I remember thinking about Avengers Infinity War and that ending and comparing it to The Empire Strikes Back and saying, you know, I think in 20 years' time people are going to be talking about this the way that we talked about Empire Strikes Back. And I think I've been proven right. I think, you know, we do, and certainly in pop culture movies and all the rest of it, people approach the ending of Infinity War the way that we now talk about Empire Strikes Back, in that it ended on a big twist. It looked like it was the end, but we knew there was another one coming, and we assumed that everything was going to work out, and, you know, whatever. But, you know, like, I don't know if the only thing that is going to get people interested in this is nostalgia, really? I mean, is that enough? Maybe. Probably is. It probably fucking is. Because, you know, that's all Marvel has now. Do you know what I mean? They've gone through everything. They've done it all. there's nowhere really left for it to do. So it's kind of like, okay, we're just going to have to run it over again. And, you know, fucking rubes. No, not rubes. But like, you know, sure, fine, I guess. It's that kind of thing of like, all right, fine, fuck it. I'll watch it. And it'll probably be good. It'll probably be okay. It'll be passable. It'll be enjoyable. I mean, you know, Captain America, Brave New World was total and utter dog shit. So there's nowhere to go except up. And, you know, maybe that'll happen. Maybe that will happen. Maybe that will work. Maybe that's the way to look at this. But yeah, I mean, the way they're just drip feeding out these fucking trailers or teasers even, it's like, Jesus, fucking spare me. Talking about teasers though, did you see the fucking teaser for the Odyssey? Wow. Yeah. Like, yeah. I mean, yeah. I know the big goofy helmet that Benny Safdie is wearing. You know, I'm very into it. And I know that's basic as fuck. But, man, that music is so good. And, you know, Troy is a bad film, but I still find myself kind of watching it and being like, oh, you can tell this could have been something. You can tell, because like apparently Christopher Nolan was originally meant to direct that, and then he dropped out of it to do, I think, The Prestige or something, or he was in the running for it or something. I can't remember. I remember reading that somewhere. But, you know, it has its moments, Troy, I think. I think the fight scene between Eric Bana and Brad Pitt is so well done. You know, what a really sharp piece of action choreography that's done, you know. Peter O'Toole in the middle of that, and fucking Brian Cox as Agamemnon, and Brendan Gleeson, and, you know, great cast. They're all hamming it up to shit. But that's kind of the point, you know, that kind of way. Like, you go back and watch like Clash of the Titans, with, you know, Harry Hamlin and stuff, and it's goofy as fuck. And it's really kind of like, ugh. But that was what, up until that point at least, that was how Greek tragedy was kind of, it was like Shakespearean tragedy. It was treated in the same kind of gravitas. It was given the same, it was afforded the same level of depth. And it's why they always had English actors doing it, you know. And Troy kind of carried that along, I think. And yeah, and like, it's you know, it's the Odyssey. It's Telemachus. It's, you know, Odyssey 31. I don't remember that show. I used to fucking love that. So like, it's, yeah, I know it's basic, but I seen it, I was like, yeah, nice. Yeah, really into that. Finally, just because I put the clip up, so I may as well talk about it. Anaconda. Terrible film. Terrible film. Not funny, not scary. I remember seeing the original and being like, alright. Like J-Lo and John Voight and Ice Cube, and, you know, it was written by the dudes that did Top Gun, and it's like, okay, sure, you know, it's like Jaws, except with a big snake. It's not as good as Jaws. Alright. And then it's like, we're going to make a parody about it. Sure. We're going to get Jack Black and Paul Rudd in it. I guess. Like, Thandiwe Newton, like, did you have a mortgage payment due? What are you doing in there? Like, I can understand Paul Rudd and Jack Black doing this kind of film. Why are you here? And it's not, like, listen, I am always glad to see Thandiwe Newton in anything. I think whenever she turns up in something, I'm automatically being like, okay, if she's involved with this, It's got to be something. And the whole time I was watching this, and I was like, okay, this is terrible. Why the fuck is she here? Does she know what film? Like, can we just slip her out the side? She shouldn't be here. Why are you doing this? And like Steve Zahn as well, who was brilliant in the first season of White Lotus, and you know what he did in was it Dawn or was it War? I think it was War for Planet of the Apes that he was in. He was fantastic in it. Maybe it was Dawn. It was one of the Planet of the Apes in it, and he played one of the apes, and he was brilliant in it. I was just watching this. I was like, why? What? Like, the basic structure of a comedy is there is the straight man and the funny man. And here you had, you know, Tandiwe Newton, I should say, carrying water for the pair of these lads. And Steve Zahn, who was just like there, flailing. I was just like so misguided. But, you know, Jack Black and Paul Rudd were nice. That was my third time interviewing Paul Rudd and my second time interviewing Jack Black. Third time interviewing Paul Rudd. No, sorry, fourth time I've interviewed Paul Rudd. Third time I did it in person. First time I interviewed Jack Black in person. Second time interviewing him. Did it over Zoom for... No, it wasn't Minecraft. It was Super Mario Brothers. Yeah, Super Mario Brothers. Film is terrible. Film is fucking terrible. So, yeah. Bad. Just bad. Okay, last thing, and then I'm going. The Stranger Things finale. I mean, actually, do you know what? I did an episode of Flop Culture with Fionnuala Jones. It's up on her Patreon. You can listen to that. You should just listen to her podcast anyway, because it's a great podcast. But talked about it there. I thought it was fine. I fully admit, right? I will fully admit, and I don't think maybe this isn't coming through in the last episode, but I talked about Stranger Things. I was not invested in Stranger Things. I kind of tapped out. And I got through this season, and I thought it was like, okay, this is not what I necessarily remember. You know, the writing doesn't seem as good. The lighting seems a lot flatter. It's very, you know, it's kind of like what happened with Marvel. I talked about this in Flop Culture, but like, it outgrew itself. You know, by rights, Stranger Things should have been 3 seasons in a movie, but they went to 5 seasons and basically a movie at the end because it was a 2-hour episode. And, you know, it's, yeah, it was fine. And the whole Conformity Gate thing and all the shit about that we're making like, I mean, is this not indicative of where fandom is at right now? That, like, you know, Netflix and the Duffer Brothers and all that, they, you know, and the creators of, you know, the marketing or whatever, they engender this kind of fervent, you know, look at everything, read all the signs, these, you know, alternate reality games and everything. And when you put out a fine, mediocre show at the end, or as in final episode, and everyone's like, oh no, there's got to be more, there's got to be more, there's got to be more. And it's like, yeah, well, you know, there isn't. And it's like, you know, you can't, like, I don't know. It's just, it's been very odd watching that do the rounds and be like, where are you seeing? And like, sometimes it is just fucking bad production standards. You know, someone was caught wearing an Under Armour t-shirt and they went back and edited it, and then there was like a poster or something that had nothing on it, and then it was like all the hands are clasped the same way that Billy was when he was possessed by Vecna. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's kind of odd. I mean, it's that thing of like, it's psychosis. It's this thing of like seeing coincidences. There are no such things as coincidences. And then it points out all the coincidences. And it's just like, okay, yeah. You know, good, I guess. Or not good. Whatever. I go back to this. I was not invested. And all this conformity gate shit did nothing for me. It did not help me to get more invested. Yeah. So, I don't know what to say. But look, whatever. We fuck it, we move. Great episode coming next week. Might have a guest. Don't know. Have to try get them in. Might put it out as a bonus episode. I don't know. I'm just teasing. Forward selling the next episode. I'm learning. Anyways, hope you had a good Christmas. Hope you had a good. Hope you're having a good New Year. I will be back next week. Until then, let me know where you're watching. Let me know if you've been listening. Let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button on whatever podcast platform you are listening on. And yeah, okay, I really need to come up with a proper script for that. I'm so fucking sorry. Okay, bye. Cheers. Bye.